Hi there. I'm going to be talking a little bit today about where is cybersecurity and the challenges that we face as a society in terms of hacking and the problems that we are all looking at from state sponsored hacking attacks to phishing to individuals just hacking us for ransomware and those kind of problems. Where do we see that going? What are the approaches that have been taken to manage those? And then where are the big gaps that a company like WootCloud can fill? So just to set the context, the problem that really is facing the world is that there has been an explosion of devices that are available. According to Gartner, that number is going to cross 25 billion devices, and there's only 8 billion of us alive in the planet, out of which probably less than half have access to any kind of device. So if you look at the device intensity per person, that is a really, really alarming trend that all of us have so many devices that we have to manage, whether it's for our own personal use or our home use, or also in a commercial environment, the kind of devices and the device footprint that comes in, which is really not known to any security professionals who are actually chartered with protecting their environment. So from conference room devices like polycoms to smart TVs to servers in an environment to badge readers, these devices just keep increasing in size. On an average, every one of us in the advanced economies, whether it's the United States or Europe, carry about 3.5 to 4 devices on our own person. And that's also the average of devices that are actually being seen. So for every single device that's available and known to a corporate CISO, there's about four which they have no idea about. And that is where the biggest ingress points are for hackers to exploit. If you look at what happened to a big retailer like Target just in the near past, what happens to hospital systems the world over. 87% of hospitals in the United States have been hit by ransomware, and there have been some very, very large cases of ransom being paid to protect personal information of patients. And credit card theft is a big problem. And all of these, if you look at the most exploited aspect of where these devices or where these attacks get initiated from, it's from the device footprint. So that's the problem that is really here and now. It is the number one discussed concern for CISOs and CIOs because of the fact that none of them actually have a handle on just the explosion of devices that is coming into the environments, and how do you manage that. So once a breach of these devices happen, each of these breaches costs about $4 million in lost productivity, and the actual direct impact of what has happened with these devices. Look at what happened with us. We were actually in one of our customers, and we realized that we saw two Linux boxes talking to each other, which in itself is really no big deal. Servers talk to each other all the time, till we actually started to get some context around one of these devices and realized it was actually a Polycom HDX audio video device. Had four botnets sitting on it, big command and control operation out of Eastern Europe, and a big problem for Polycom because it was completely compromised. You had the ability to actually go in and switch these devices on, off at will, listen in on board conversations. So a big expose that happened, and multiple security bulletins that Polycom did. If you actually type WootCloud and Polycom into a Google search string, you'll see a lot of good press that we got out of this. But the point is that these are the kind of exploits that hackers the world over focus on, and that's how they are able to compromise all of us so easily. We have figured out Tesla cars that actually, and it could be any car, any electric car that actually is linked. We have found multiple such cars hooked onto corporate networks, again creating a big egress point. We have found multiple Bitcoin mining operations in our customer locations where smart techies who wanted to make some money on the side have actually strung together corporate structures and corporate environments, and corporate servers into a large Bitcoin mining operation. We actually discovered a similar Bitcoin mining operation in Asia using not one, not two, but 4 million set-top boxes. And who knew that set-top boxes could be strung together into a Bitcoin mining operation? But they are very strong. They have very strong compute engines inside them. And if you know how to manage those debug bridges that Android puts in, then there's a way to be able to do this automatically. And that's exactly how those large hack attacks happen. So that, I think, is the number one problem that is being faced by people the world over, by corporations the world over, whether it's protecting our homes from cybersecurity attacks and phishing attacks, or it's environments like hospital systems or even large government installations. I think everywhere the problem has extended itself out to IoT devices or the Internet of Things devices, Internet of Medical Thing devices, whether it's commercial IoT, whether it is industrial IoT, all of those are vulnerable environments. So, and that is why we started this company, to basically automate this device security at IoT scale. And that's what all of us are focused on 24/7 in this company. And we are really looking at how do we fill a very, very large white space in overall security. There's a lot of good security solutions which focus on a lot of good and big problems, but the big white space is controls around smart devices, and that's the challenge that WootCloud tries to solve, because that, to us, completes this whole zero trust ecosystem. You have to come to a level where you do not trust in any device, and as devices come into the environment, you assume that they are not right, they have been compromised, there's a man-in-the-middle attack happening. Even when the device presents its MAC ID, you have to be able to find a way to actually fingerprint that MAC ID, and that's exactly what we do, to focus on authenticating every single device that comes into a corporate environment. Our focus is more around corporate environments, what we call commercial IoT. So that's where we focus a lot on the context of each of these devices that's coming in. Why is this device coming into this environment? What is the purpose that it solves? How does this device operate on an individual device basis, in a group context, and in an operational context? For example, if you have noticed a set of devices that come into an office from 9 to 5 every day, and suddenly those devices started coming at 11 o'clock at night and go out at 3 in the morning, that's an operational context issue. You've got to understand, why are these devices showing up at this time, and what is going on? It could be completely sanctioned, and that's fine. But if it's a problem, then that's how you figure out that there's something going on. You realize the grouping of devices. So in a group of devices, like the set-top box example that I just gave, if there is a group of set-top boxes, which is exactly what happened, who are going to bad sites, who are showing some kind of anomalous behavior, then you really need to understand, why is that happening, what is going on, and what can be done to stop that kind of an attack. And that's how you discover so many problems. That's how we're discovering. We have a lab environment, and that's a not-for-profit environment where we do continuous research on these kind of issues, and we continuously release so many pieces of research around these kind of botnets that we discover all the time. So that's, I think, in a nutshell, describing the use case of what is going on. And I can get into more detail about how we do it, but the focus here is to understand that there's a big problem around device security, around the edge, the new edge of security, which is the device, and that needs to be managed too, because hackers have found a way to break all other security models, whether it's firewalls, whether it's phishing, whether it's CASB or web gateways. Everything has been breached. But if you actually stop a hack attack or a hacker at the farthest edge, which is actually the device where something needs to happen at the device level for a successful breach to happen, that's where you can stop all of these attacks. And that's the challenge that we are trying to solve here. So just moving on into a little bit of the more specifics of what we do. We focus on a whole new way of managing. We actually look at device metadata through different interfaces that we have built. We have our own sensors that we deploy at our customer locations. And that's the way the technology will have to move. You'll have to be able to manage not to just devices that connect in a wireless or a Wi-Fi enabled environment or even wired devices, but also look at all the devices that are communicating across different spectrums like Bluetooth and BLE and Zigbee and LoRa and cellular, all of these different devices that don't look at connecting to a corporate network, but are communicating and are able to find a way, hackers are able to find a way to exploit those problems. Another example, we found at our customer location, a smart TV, which is a very large manufacturer, I will not name them, but their smart TV actually had a Blueborn vulnerability, which is a Bluetooth-based vulnerability. Once you have a Blueborn vulnerability, if you're near the device in that 25, 30-foot radius in which a Bluetooth device can be worked, you can compromise that device, you can get into that device. You would wonder why would you need to get into a smart TV, because those smart TVs are also connected from a Wi-Fi interface to the corporate network. So now you can get in through that Bluetooth interface and you can get out and infect the entire corporate network because now you found a way to get in. We've all heard of how a large manufacturer or a large casino, actually, my apologies, was compromised through a sensor in the fish tank. And that is what hackers use to get to their high-roller database. Such examples abound because devices have not been taken seriously till now. So that is what we are trying to solve for. That is what we think is important. Bringing together RF or radio frequency sensors to understand what's happening on the radio frequencies, which are not wired or Wi-Fi connected, and then marrying that with all of the network traffic that's going in to create context around these devices, do integrations with current security tools, which are all very, very good and effective, but lack a little bit of device centricity to be able to then manage vulnerable devices, which could be a problem area for all corporations as well as individuals. So just to kind of complete this whole piece, I'm going to skip past the more complicated things, but I've already mentioned the set-top box case. The one critical thing that actually does have to be taken into context is security is not just purely a security issue. It is an amalgamation of what is happening in your IT operations. It's also what's happening in your network operations and also your security operations. So it's a combination. So you could actually be very, very secure from a security tooling perspective. You could have firewalls and anti-phishing devices and all kinds of devices. But if you do not have a robust asset management system, or if you have not implemented good campus microsegmentation policies, all of those security environments that you've created will actually fail because you are weak in the segmentation aspect, or you do not have a robust asset management. So to us, security really is an amalgamated risk score of your IT risk, your network risk, and your security risk combined into a single pane of glass. So what we do, which is our context engine and the identification and fingerprinting of each device, leads to these very important use cases around threat correlation, around segmentation, and around asset management, all of which comes together to give an enterprise risk score. So even though we discover 4 times, 5 times more devices than a corporate organization believes they actually have, we reduce their footprint of what they have to manage by giving them access to or an exposure to the high-risk devices that they have to focus on and not worry about all the other devices that are within corporate risk posture compliance. So that's how we focus on this. Another important thing, everybody, every corporation, even us as individuals, we've spent so much money on securing ourselves. Uh, Device centricity is central to really enhancing and supercharging these investments. So, for example, in a SIM environment, unless you actually have device visibility, you really cannot reduce the amount of noise that SIMs create in terms of just an excessive amount of alerts that happen. But now, if you can correlate these alerts to a few devices, then you can actually manage the problem at source instead of having to analyze each and every one of these alerts. So, from SIMs to asset management to firewalls and so on and so forth in multiple areas of what a typical corporate organization focuses on, we actually supercharge and we actually create a lot of more mileage for all of these millions of dollars that have been put into these investments. That, in a nutshell, is what we do. We think this problem is extremely central. It is here. It is now. It was the number one discuss issue at RSA last year. It probably will be the number one discuss issue this year. And we're very, very proud to say that WootCloud is right in the middle of this, trying to solve what is still a very big white space in the overall security construct of corporations and organizations. Thank you.